The whole situation this offseason and dating back to last season in the NBA playoffs with Ben Simmons and the Philadelphia 76ers has been the talking point of the entire NBA offseason this year, and I wasn't going to make a video about this topic, but it's just been over the news so much that I really feel like I have to, and I really did want to give you guys today my thoughts on the situation, because this is really one of the most interesting player and team relationships that we've ever seen in NBA history. I mean, overall, this complete situation is just a complete mess, and I wanted to go over and kind of summarize it with you guys today, and also just give you my opinion on this whole situation, because I think it's really getting ridiculous and honestly kind of funny to see this relationship and just how it's turning out. So let's get into the video. The first thing I wanted to talk about in this situation is how it started and how Ben Simmons is really being soft in this situation. And as an NBA player, you have to be ready to get lots of not only constructive criticism, but also harsh criticism from fans and across the NBA community on social media and all that kind of stuff. You have to be ready to take that and also block it out if you really don't like it. But Ben Simmons in this situation, unfortunately, is just not ready for this type of criticism, and really the whole entire reason why he's asking out of Philadelphia is because of the criticism of the fans and how he wasn't able to hold himself accountable for his historic bad playoff performance. This was easily the worst playoff performance that we've ever seen from a player that made the All-Star team in that season, and Ben Simmons just completely played horribly in that series. And against the Atlanta Hawks in that 7-game series in the second round last season, he only attempted 6 field goals per game, which is absolutely insane for an all-star player, and he absolutely had no confidence out there on the floor. And obviously his inability to shoot as well has kind of always really hurt his team, but especially in this playoffs really hurt them because of how he was a complete liability at the free throw line, and he could literally just get fouled, and he only shot 34% from the free throw line in that playoff series. So obviously criticism is going to come from fans, but Ben Simmons was not ready to take this criticism, and like I said, he did not hold himself accountable, and really he's the bad guy in the situation, requesting a trade from the Sixers, because instead of having the right attitude that you should have as a player and be willing to try to improve and try to please the fans that you are getting criticism from and take on action yourself to become a better player, he is just completely blaming this one on the fans. And really, if he was on any other team, he would still be getting this criticism from the fans, but I don't think he really realizes that yet. Another thing that kind of led up to this situation of him requesting a trade, something that really stood out to me here was that one press conference during the second round of the playoffs last season with Doc Rivers. And as we know, last season Doc Rivers was always a guy that was really on Ben Simmons' side and always tried to defend him. But he was asked a question by a reporter, and the reporter essentially asked, "Do you still think Ben Simmons is a championship level point guard?" And Doc's answer to the question was that he didn't know the answer to that question at that time. And this is just one of those typical press conference questions where the coach at this time, Doc Rivers, just didn't really want to answer the question. And obviously, logically, the answer to this question would be no. I mean, I really don't see how you could consider Ben Simmons a championship level starting point guard for a team. Like, if he's your second option, I really don't see how you could legitimately contend for a championship. That's my opinion. We might have different opinions on that, but Doc Rivers essentially just kind of brushed off of the question like he didn't really want to answer it at that time, because he kind of knew the answer to it. But because he didn't really say yes to that answer, for some reason Ben Simmons overreacts to this as well, and just because of this one stupid question at a press conference, all of a sudden Ben Simmons thinks that his coach is completely not on his side, and Doc Rivers completely has the right to not be on Ben Simmons' side, because he essentially blew that series for them with his horrible shooting struggles, free throw struggles, and his horrible lack of confidence. So I think Ben Simmons overall just completely reacted to the situation, and ever since the Sixers lost that Game 7 to the Hawks, reportedly Ben Simmons has not even been in contact with the Philadelphia 76ers team, and he is absolutely refusing to play another game for them in the future just because he got a little bit of criticism from his coach and a lot of criticism from the fans. As a player, I just really don't see how Ben Simmons is taking the right approach to this situation, and I think his attitude toward this situation is why he's never really going to improve as a player in the NBA. So now let's get into some more current stuff about this situation with Ben Simmons. So after the loss to the Atlanta Hawks in the playoffs in the start of this offseason, obviously Ben Simmons requests a trade and the Sixers do start shopping him and seeing what kind of trade options they can get back for him. But now the problem with what the Sixers are doing here, looking for trades for Ben Simmons, is that they think his value is way higher than it actually is, and they're asking for way too much in return for him. I mean, this is a guy who just came off the worst playoff performance for an all-star in NBA history and shot 34% from the free throw line in that playoff series. At times can make a team's offense worse because of his inability to shoot and space the floor, and he's continually getting a little bit worse every year. Unlike most players who progress throughout their career, Ben Simmons' best statistical season in his career so far has been his rookie season, and his worst statistical season was last year. I mean, sure, he's still a top 10 defender in the league, probably one of, if not the best perimeter defender in the game, and a decent playmaker and a pretty good passer, but overall offensively, like I said, he can legitimately make your team's offense worse at times if he's not hitting his free throws and if he doesn't end up developing a three-point shot. Despite all of this and the fact that he's probably not considered a top 50 player in the league anymore, the Sixers, for example, tried to trade him to the Toronto Raptors and reportedly offered him for Fred VanVleet, OG Anunoby, I believe there was another player involved as well, and multiple first-round picks. I mean, as a Raptors fan, I would not even trade Ben Simmons for OG Anunoby straight up. I mean, that's how low Ben Simmons' value is truly right now, but the Sixers are not realizing this at all, and they're asking way too much for him. I also saw another report that said that the Houston Rockets were slightly interested in Ben Simmons, but the Sixers said that the only possible thing that they would take back for him is Jalen Green, the second overall pick in the draft this season, who legitimately has the potential to be one of the best scorers in the league one day, and I personally believe that one day Jalen Green will average 30 points per game, and that's the only thing that they would take in a return for a player right now who's not even a top 50 player in the NBA, and Ben Simmons. These are just a couple of the examples of trades that the Sixers have asked for that are way too ambitious, and I don't even think they're willing to lower their expectations for their return enough that they're going to even be able to trade Ben Simmons. So now we get to the point now where Ben Simmons is not reporting to training camp and has really come out and said that he's really truly not going to play another game for the Sixers team. And if he truly does believe that, I really don't see how he's going to be playing basketball at all this year unless either him or the Sixers end up settling for the reality here, which is that if the Sixers want to get a trade done for Ben Simmons, it's really not going to be for anything at all. I mean, you could maybe trade him for 1 or 2 first-round picks, maybe throw in a role player in there, but realistically, I don't see how there's going to be that much more of a trade package for Ben Simmons with how low his value truly is right now, or Ben Simmons is going to have to accept the fact that the Sixers are asking way too much for him. He's not going to be playing basketball this year if they don't settle, so if that happens, then he's going to have to settle and end up probably at mid-season or something actually playing games for this Sixers team. And if he does come back to this team, imagine the toxic locker room that he would be in. I mean, I can't imagine a guy who completely quit on a team and then finally gives in and comes back to them. I mean, it would just be it would be so awkward and weird to have him back on the Philadelphia 76ers. And honestly, this scenario right here, I really don't see it happening because Ben Simmons seems right now that he truly believes he's played his last game as a Philadelphia 76er. So either these two scenarios could happen where either side kind of gives in, or it's just something in the middle where Ben Simmons literally just doesn't play basketball at all this year, and I really don't see how that would benefit either side at all in either way. So we're kind of in a scenario right now which I don't know if this is a hot take coming from me or a logical take coming from me, but I really just don't see how the Sixers are going to get done a productive trade for Ben Simmons with what they think his value at is right now based on versus what his actual value really is. So this is definitely a really interesting situation here, and that's kind of my opinion on it. Is either one side is going to have to give in, or Ben Simmons is just not going to be playing basketball this season. Now, to make this situation even more ridiculous and interesting and really just hilarious overall, this Friday the Sixers did not pay Ben Simmons $8.25 million of his contract that they owed to him because he's awaiting a trade and requested one. I mean, I didn't even know they were allowed to do this. I mean, they probably aren't. I don't know like the details about the situation and what's gonna happen because the Sixers aren't paying him, but this just really proves here that the Sixers are moving on from Ben Simmons and they know that he's not really a part of their team anymore. So the scenario I talked about where maybe Ben Simmons realized that he has to come back to the Sixers, I don't even know if the Sixers are going to let him come back. I think the most likely scenario here is that the Sixers finally realize in this situation that what they're asking in return for Ben Simmons in a trade is just simply unrealistic, and they're going to end up settling for something that is way less than what they expected to get back. Like I said, in my opinion, a realistic trade option for this team would be to trade Ben Simmons for maybe 2 first-round picks and a decent role player who has a little bit of potential, and I really think that's the furthest they can go. I don't see how Ben Simmons' value is higher than that right now, and I think overall, my prediction for this scenario is that's what's going to happen. Probably about 20 or 30 games into this season, pretty far into this season, the Sixers are finally going to realize what they have to do to just end this situation and get Ben Simmons off the team. And overall, this is just a terrible situation for the Sixers, and it's all because of Ben Simmons' horrible attitude and how he's just not willing to accept the fact that he had a horrible playoffs last season, and he's not willing to take that criticism from the fans and use it as motivation to actually get better as a basketball player. And overall, this situation is a complete mess, and those are my predictions on it and what's going to happen and overall my thoughts on it. So that's going to conclude today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed. Be sure to comment down below your thoughts on this incredibly weird situation and relationship between Ben Simmons and the Philadelphia 76ers. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you did, be sure to leave a like. If you guys are new to the channel, be sure to subscribe, as almost 90% of you watching my videos right now aren't subscribed to the channel, and I am on the road to 1,000 subscribers. So if you are new, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button. It would really help me out a lot. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you all next video.